Sorry, I'm live on every other channel except Facebook, and I'm trying to troubleshoot what is going on.
Okay.
It's live on my YouTube and other things, but not on Facebook. And I
Facebook.
don't know.
Okay. Is it supposed to go on? Or is it automatic?
Yes, it's automatic.
Okay.
People are logged in already from Twitter and whatever. So
Okay.
I'm trying to just find a way to sort this out. Well, let's maybe maybe I will post it later for Facebook, and then they can interact with it. Uh, because right now I don't want us to take too much. It's late and tomorrow is work. I don't want us to, you know, be bogged down. Uh, all right. Good evening, sir, and good evening, everyone. Wherever you are tuned in to this impromptu broadcast, it was not scheduled for those who are my regular listeners and fellow Bible study students. Uh, my name, of course, is Bolu Adekujero, and I have with me here Minister Hilary. Is it or Awe? Which one? How is your surname pronounced?
Are we?
Awe, okay. Minister
Yeah.
Hilary Awe is a friend and a beloved brother on Facebook, and I decided to have this video discussion. It was actually meant for Facebook audience primarily, but of course, my hope is that it will be of help to others in general, and it would facilitate an edifying discussion. And it's about this issue of Christian genocide. For those who have been listening to me, you know that we have had two sessions on it, two installments, 2 Fridays ago and last Friday. There's a series that I'm doing which I titled Accounted as Sheep for Slaughter. So you would find some of the things I'm going to say here uh, a repetition of things I've mentioned in those broadcasts, but I just want to try and make it as concise as possible for people to understand because I've had interactions with other ministers of the gospel and people don't seem to understand my argument, my point, and what I am getting at. So I felt it would be nice to have those people, but unfortunately, those who were, engaging me, none of them is here. None of them interacted with the post, but I will still make it post. So let me put this on screen, Minister Hillary. This is where I'm going to start it from. What sparked this? Let me share something from my screen. This is where it started from. All right. Can you see this on your screen, sir?
Yes, I'm seeing it here.
All right. This is where everything started from, at least what has, inspired the current discussion and fired up, Christians across the country. Here we find Donald Trump, the president of the United States. He tweeted this on his Truth Social, and this is what he says: Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern. But that is the least of it. When Christians or any group is slaughtered, like is happening in Nigeria, 3,100 versus 4,476 worldwide, something must be done. I am asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and the House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and report back to me. The United States cannot stand while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world, Donald J. Trump. So in this is actually a follow-up. Sorry, the other person, I can see someone here. That's Braduru. Let me join him to us. Just a moment. Let me just send him the link. Oh, he said he's been in the studio waiting. He must be in another studio. Sorry.
Maybe it's on the wrong link.
I hope he doesn't. So I sent him the link. I'll be waiting for him to join. So,
Okay.
So let's go on. So here, I'm going to break down my understanding of what the President of the United States is saying here, because this came after, what's his name? Senator Ted Cruz had first bandied, because he was the one that first started it. He branded and said there is Christian genocide going on in Nigeria. And he said over 50,000 Christians have been killed this year alone. That's where the noise began from their own end, the recent one that brought to this one. And then a couple of days later, Donald Trump, followed suit with this statement. And this statement is what I have added up together with, what's his name? Ted Cruz's statement. And I've said, I find one, the statement not true to the scenario. And then the response that we are getting is not the kind of response that the Christian doctrine celebrates or tells us to applaud. Now, let me break it down from the beginning. He says Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. When you say something is existential threat in Nigeria, the picture I get is that to be a Christian in Nigeria is threatening, is at a risk. We're not talking about a section of Nigeria. We're talking about in Nigeria as a whole, that you just cannot even afford to practice your Christianity. Christianity is facing existential threat. Okay, Minister has joined. Let me add him to the stage. Welcome, Mr. Obina, or Prof.
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right. Sorry, I had some mix-up, and then the link is just not even going live on Facebook. So we are just live on Twitter and YouTube. So we would probably share this later on Facebook. So I just was beginning and trying to set the ground rolling for the point from which I have been dealing with this issue as it came up. I have put on screen, if you can see on screen, the post that was made by Donald Trump, the President of the United States, where he stated that Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. And I said, my understanding of this is that it's a tarring of the entire nation with one brush, that Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria, suggests that anywhere in Nigeria generally, to practice Christianity is a dangerous thing. You could almost be killed. You can't even gather, you can't, something like that. But when you look at the breakdown of what he's saying, he says thousands of Christians are being killed, and he gives a figure. I don't know where he got that figure from. He says 3,100 versus 4,417 nationwide, worldwide. So it means that Nigeria alone accounts for this number compared with the total number killed worldwide. I don't know how that figure came about, because that figure seems to me to be, patronizing something. But that's not my issue. However, he describes it. Whether it's 3,100, I don't know. But let's go on. And then he said something. He said, when Christians or any such group, my question is, who is the such group? Is it Muslims also such groups? Are non-Christians, non-Muslims, are they such groups? If they are under existential threat, are they also part of those they are going to fight for? Because to me, my constituency, primary constituency, is the Christian body. But I am supposed to give value to all human lives, irrespective of whether they are Christian or not Christian. So if something is affecting us all, let's deal with it as affecting us all, rather than make it a religious affair and make it seem as if the lives of the others don't matter. But let's go on. So then the next thing, of course, it says that they will take this and deal with it. Later, there was a second post where he now threatened. Let me switch that. He says, if the Nigerian government, if you can see this, if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country. The entire nation is the nation that is disgraced. Guns are blazing to wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I am hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christian nation. So this is the crux of it, and this is the solution that has been proposed. He's going to come and attack terrorists. So in one breath, the claim is that Nigeria is, experiencing existential threat with Christianity. The culprits are terrorists, Islamic terrorists, and they are going to come, of course, with guns are blazing. That's military might, to come and wipe out the Islamic terrorists. So I don't know if my understanding of this and the way I've summarized it aligns with what others see. Minister Hillary, please, you can step in here, and then Prof, you can add your voice. Maybe I did understand it very well.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Can you hear me?
No, I'm not.
Okay, you're back now. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Before you were off.
All right.
But now
So
I
I said we've seen the comments of the United States president with respect to the issues being mentioned. But I would like to say one thing, right? Though the remarks of the president, United States president, have a form of religious connotation because of the mention of Christianity, but looking at the broader context of the message, we should extract that religious connotation, and focus on the core issues, which is that a lot of Christians are being killed, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. We have seen very horrific videos, people being buried in their numbers. And also, I know people of other faiths too have been killed, like the Muslims and all that. But you cannot compare the ratio of the Christians that have died, in those areas. So, for me, I believe we should take out that religious connotation and deal with the real issues, which is stopping the killings and apprehending those who are, who are very active participants in these heinous crimes, whether they are Christians or they are Muslims. Criminality is criminality. So that is my own point of view
All right.
with regard to that. But the responses we have been seeing from Nigeria, everyone is just trying to, settle on that religiosity. Christians getting happy, and US is coming, and we also see some sections of the Muslim faith where several concerns have been raised, misinformations here and there. Okay, Trump is coming to kill Muslims and all that, but we should focus on the real issues, which is that there are killings going on, which there are a lot of evidence are flying around the place. There are a lot of killings going on, and it has to be stopped. And those who are active participants of this perpetrating these heinous crimes also have to be apprehended. And I think it's a win-win for us. And also, the president of Nigeria have also extended some diplomatic channels. We have seen that, willingness to work with the United States in ensuring that terrorism, is decimated or brought down to a very minimal level. So I think for every rational mind, every rational thinking human being, no one wants his beloved to be killed in the way we see people being killed. Everybody wants to live in peace, progress, and go around their duties in a very peaceful and productive environment. So no matter how we see it, the commonality of the whole thing is that they are killers on ground. And those killers don't serve the Christian faith any good, don't serve the Muslim faith any good. And the atrocities also don't serve the country, doesn't give a good imagery of the country. So we all have a common enemy, and we should look at it in that regards. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Minister Hillary. We've lost Prof. I think when he's back, we'll join again. Well, you see, now let me try and give my perspective. I think two things the Christian community in Nigeria has mixed up. Okay, let me give Prof an opportunity to weigh in on what we have said so far. So we lost you. You are back. Welcome, Prof. So please, can we have your own perspective or your own take on what we read from Donald Trump on this issue? Did you hear us? Can you hear? Prof? Can you hear us? Can you hear me? I'm not sure you can.
Prof, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Maybe it's network.
Okay, well, let me just go on. You see, my concern is that the body of Christ has confused two separate things as one. And we are not using the opportunity rightly to focus on the real issue. There are two issues that I see at play here. One is terrorism, which affects all and sundry. That seems to be the one that Trump and the allies are focused upon. But that is a recent development. That is one thing that the nation at large is fighting, which is being mixed up and being used to tar the nation as if the nation is not fighting it. The nation is fighting it. The nation, because I've been following this thing as far back as 2017. Following it, not in the sense of following the news. I've been tracking data, reading reports, and these things that are even posted on US government website. When you said the proportion of Christians being killed by terrorists, I dare to differ. The statistics does not support that. Data does not support it. You see, what confuses Christians is that we think that if something is noised, reported by many people, then it is more happening than any other thing. The issue we are confusing is this. We don't understand the nature of the demographics of where we are dealing with. The northern region, because they are predominantly Muslims, they generally have this dismissive attitude towards life. If you slaughter 20,000 Muslims in the north, I can bet you will scarcely hear a whiff on social media, because they will just bury their dead and move on. They have this attitude to life. Bring them. They just move on. If you kill, I have worked in the north before. If you kill their goat or their sheep, their means of livelihood, they can kill you for it. But if you kill their child, they are just like, okay, something. I'm not saying this to demean them, but instead, I'm just trying to help us to understand the value. But if Christians are killed, you see, Christians generally have voice. We use information. So if one person among us is killed, the noise that we make, that noise is so much. That noise gives the impression that, oh, we are being killed more. There was a report that was published in 2017, 2018. It's still on the website of the US government till today. It was data collected by, I've forgotten the body, research body, that whatever. This is something that US itself signed off on, talking strictly about the victims of the terrorists. If you follow this terrorism we are talking about, Boko Haram started in the top north, where the predominant, what they call it now, people were Muslims. The people who they were killing originally were Muslims. That point in time, it was not news. The only time it became news was when they took the children in school.
It has always been news.
So it was when they took those children, that's when the thing became serious news. And then subsequently, they started targeting government infrastructure, police, anything. It was not religious. All right, yes, sir. You can say something.
I can hear you now.
Can I talk?
Yes, you can. You can say.
Can I talk?
You can go on. You can button. It seems your link is slow.
Can I talk now?
Yes, you can. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, go ahead, Prof.
Yes, sir.
It seems your link is.
The reason I'm raising my hand is that what Mr. Hillary said, I didn't get most of it, but I got your first take, and I don't know when my network will flip again, so I just want to chip in my little bit before my network flips again. I'm sorry about the light. I'm not using NEPA. I'm using batteries.
Sorry about that.
This is the best I can manage for now. Now, this issue is something that started about 1999 after Ahmed Yerima led the Sharia campaign. Everybody in Nigeria knew that this was going to happen. I have lived in Kano. I lived in Kano for years. So I know how these things occur. When you give people 1 yard, they will look for a mile. And so when Obasanjo refused to act, he felt it was a political gimmick. And he had his eyes on third term. So he just said it will fizzle out. It did not fizzle out. I know the kind of persecution that goes on in the north. Now, I don't know whether you have watched a video of one pastor called Pastor Hayab. That Pastor Hayab, when you listen to that video, it's only a monster that would deny that every night, even this night, now that we are speaking, some Christians will lose their lives. Now, is it only Christians? No, it's not only Christians. Muslims also. In fact, for me, there seems to be simultaneous genocide going on. One is religious, the other one is tribal. So they are not mutually exclusive. They are moving simultaneously, driven by one group of people. I can understand somebody who wants to be politically correct, but I don't think Christian pastors should be in that category of people who are politically correct. So I was surprised when Matthew Kuka went and practically denied that genocide is not ongoing. I later watched his subordinate, the director of Kuka Center, another very intelligent Reverend Father. And that one reversed the whole opinion that Kuka gave at the Vatican. And I'm not surprised. Now, the fact is that the Christian genocide began in 1999. It's been longer than the tribal genocide. It's been going on longer. And perhaps it has been amplified also. One of the biggest amplifications it received was when the APC at their formative stage took the issue to United States of America, Washington, D.C., and we are meeting all kinds of people, their friends, amplifying it against Jonathan. They bring back our girls. Was blamed on Jonathan. I mean, the abduction of the Chibok girls was blamed on Jonathan. And Jonathan, being the fool that he is, was there and that thing happened and he didn't do anything. At that time, the reports we were getting, it was an open report. The report we were getting was that inside the high-rise fences of the high-rise compounds of big men in the towns, even Meduguri, that those girls were sequestered inside there. Jonathan was giving that intel. He didn't do anything. He was afraid. And so, the Christian genocide has been amplified, even by APC. And now, while the ethnic genocide against the mainly Hausa communities has taken the back burner, it's been suppressed. We just hear snippets of it. But I, having lived in the north, I am aware that wars are going on more than being reported. But they are not amplifying it. So the fact that the Christian genocide is now being escalated, being amplified, does not negate the fact that there's another genocide going on. And so for somebody to say, why mention the Christian and leave the other one? Why didn't those people amplify their own also? So it is now time for them to also amplify theirs and let the world know what is really happening in Nigeria. I can assure you that this night, some people will be killed. And the complacency of the Nigerian government is complicity in this. So, that is it. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Prof. Thank you for that commentary. Now, where you lost you, I was trying to establish something that I think what you have said plays right into what I'm trying to distinguish. You are tracing it back to 99. What I see is the same thing. You see, there are two things that have become conflated as one. That's what I'm trying to separate. Is that terrorism, which began, that's Islamic terrorism, which began with the advent of the Boko Haram insurgents and whatever, is something that has now covered something that was already in Nigeria before 1999. Islamic extremism, religious intolerance, that has always been in the north. To practice Christianity in the north has always been with your life in your throat, because they never allowed Christians to feel at home. I was young since I've been hearing about my aunt. I remember in 1976, she went to go and serve in the north. So I'm talking about 76. So, and I know Christians were killed. And they will always kill them based on religious fanaticism. Either you said something, you went somewhere to go and preach, you spoke against their prophet, they will rise up and they will do that. Now, that is different from the terrorism that we are now experiencing, which is affecting all. And that is still ongoing, pari passu. That may have escalated and gotten worse, which I would understand, because now you have something under which to cover it. You have the terrorism that you can pass it under and make it hide as if it's the terrorists that are doing it, whereas you are still doing religious extremism and killing believers. You see, my own concern is that there is no attempt to distinguish these two, and it is going to, I see it as if we don't do it clearly, it can snowball into something worse for us. Because if, God forbid, if the United States make good with that threat, they are not going to be looking for terrorists. They are seeing this thing as Muslim versus Christians. That's what I see them as talking about. Muslims, you are shaking your head, Mr. Hillary. They are not making any distinction. How are you? Okay, let me give you an instance. How are you going to isolate the Islamic terrorists from the Muslim extremists who is targeting Christians? We're not talking about the Islamic terrorists. So remove Boko Haram. You will still not solve this issue, because there are extremists in the north that are targeting Christians. They are just using the Islamic terrorists as cover. How does US solve that problem? Because if you solve the problem of extremists, what do you call it, the Islamic terrorists, Boko Haram, ISIS, I am not seeing that solving the religious intolerance in the north. That is an issue on its own that must be brought to the front burner. We have to deal with that within the state of Nigeria. That's what I would expect that the Christian community should pressure the Nigerian government to look into, because the Nigerian government is already looking into the terrorist thing, and they are using that to forget that other one, to not focus on it, because that is where I am seeing the issue. Go ahead, please, you can vote in.
Yes, I want us to, be able to, distinguish certain things, and that will help us to really understand the core issues at hand. All right. Both in Islam, there's religious extremism. In Christianity, there are also religious extremism. I want us to know that. All right. What we are facing in the north, it's an arm or a child of religious extremism. So, what you were saying initially about religious intolerance that has been happening over time, and we now have, what they call these terrorists coming up. They are two different things. All right, they are two different things. We've always had that religious extremism in the north, but what we are facing with what Nigeria is facing now is clear act terrorism that can also be traceable, to religious extremism. And what baffles me the most is that, religion has brought so much divide into the country where we now see
Ada,
ourselves first as people of a particular religion than seeing ourselves first of all as Nigerians. We are first of all Nigerians before you can have any affiliations with any religion. All right. So the context of Trump's statements with respect to the activities in Nigeria, has a form of religious connotation, but that is not the center of it. Why the word existential threat of Christians was being mentioned was because of the reports that have been going on, the videos, the evidence that was going on. But the core issue is about decimating terrorism, the terrorists, and bringing that index to a very, very minimal level. All right. So the United States is not coming to fight Muslims in order to defend Christians. I don't believe that. All right. So as Nigerians, first of all, who people who have various religious diversities, we have a common enemy here. All right. And that common enemy is terrorism. So, but by the time we start bringing in that, religiosity into the subject as a core matter of the subject, then we will not be able to identify who our enemies are anymore. You understand? And that is the mistake that we are making. On various sides, the Christians are celebrating, oh, like our big brother is coming to save us, and on the side of the Muslims, they also feel threatened that, oh, that we are going to be attacked, Muslims are going to be killed. But that is not the issue. All right, both the Christians and the Muslims have a common enemy, and which is terrorism, the incessant killings that have been going on. Whether a Christian is killed or a Muslim is killed, a Nigerian is killed. So should we
thank
continue to
you.
see the blood of our fellow Nigerians being spilled? The answer is no. No rational mind will want to see the blood of any Nigerian, whether you are a Muslim or you are a Christian or you are even a native doctor. The fact that you are a Nigerian and you are a human being, you should have some rights of dignity. So no rational mind will want to see a Nigerian being killed. So I want us, and that's where we're making a mistake. So we should focus our discussion on that. All right. So because by the time we start bringing in that religious divide, then the enemies will become, they will become very difficult for us to identify them. So if the Christians and the Muslims come together and say, yes, we have this problem, how are we going to deal with this problem? Then we'll find a common ground, and that is the ground of truth. All right. That's the ground of truth, and the problem will be solved. But with the way we are going about it now, we are polarizing the whole environment with religion. You understand? And very soon it might snowball into something else that we are not even envisaging. So that is my take on it. So we are
Exactly.
first of all Nigerians before any religious
Ex-
affiliations, and we should see ourselves as Nigerians first. And if there's a common enemy on ground, then we should look for ways, to take out that enemy so that we can live in peace, live in a productive environment. Our children live in a productive environment, and the country will move forward. That is my take on that.
All right, fine. You see, I am for your own take, and I am completely aligned with it's what I have always been saying. If you remember when I started, I said every life should matter, whether it's the life of a Christian or a Muslim. The fact that some don't make noise on their own is just as a result of their outlook towards life. But that doesn't mean that we who value the life should now speak on because the way the Western world, Trump side, as the issue now, is polarizing us because making those who are fellow victims with us of the terrorists see themselves as being tagged the terrorists. It may not have been said directly to them, but the way we are assuming it, that's the way it's looking. And you see, we may say Trump or United States will not act, and they may act. We may say they will act, and they may not act. But it depends on our posture and the way we sell the situation to them. My own take is this. First of all, I feel that it is a religious thing that the United States is, because you see, the reason is this. If you wanted to help Nigeria fight terrorism without the coloration of religion, you work with the government, you reach out to the government, you sit with that government of Nigeria. What are the challenges? These are the things we are saying. You don't make the nation an attacking point. You say you are going to come and attack the nation. You are telling the nation you are a disgraced nation. You are telling the nation you are going to come and take it. You are already, and mind you, Nigeria is not an enemy country. Nigeria is an ally. You treat an ally that way. You don't relate to an ally like we are together. You have not an ally to show himself as committed. Mind you, for a lot of Nigerians don't know this. When this issue was, discussed by President Jonathan, part of the reason Jonathan was crippled, even though Jonathan was delayed in waking up, one of the reasons he was crippled was because the military did not have the infrastructure equipment to prosecute the war. They now requested the United States to sell to them certain planes. Obama refused and did not sell. So the military were ill-equipped with intelligence equipment as well as kinetic equipment. It was under Buhari that Trump lifted that embargo and sold us 12 Tucano jets. I can't remember the other things that they sold us at that point in time. But despite that, they placed restrictions. Many people are not aware that those Tucano jets, those equipment, they said they must not be used below a certain point. That means areas like we are talking about the middle belt now, they can't use those planes there. It is a restriction. But that's not all the issue. My own concern is this. The government can work with Nigerian government if they are targeting terrorists and not trying to polarize us along religious lines. They are fanning that fault. That's what I see. They are trying to tear us apart so that we consume ourselves again, and then they will now be the Messiah trying to save us. That's my own concern here. And we are giving them that green light if we are not careful. And like I said before, this is an opportunity for the Christian body not only to deal with the terrorism which affects all, but also to deal with the religious intolerance, which is the one that I can say is state-backed. Terrorism, I don't see it as state-backed. But religious intolerance, religious fanaticism, extremism, that's what the Sharia law was enacted to come and solidify. That's what it emboldened the religious extremists in that north with, because they now have the cover of the Sharia to do things and violate the Nigerian laws. That is an issue that has not come in, because we are just making the terrorists seem like they are the only problem. They are not the problem. They are there. But the real issue, even if we deal with that one, will still be that other one of religious extremism, which is state-backed. Because since they've been killing Christians in the north, I have never had once any prominent Islamic figure to condemn it. I've never had the Sultan. I've never had the Emir to speak and say, oh, any Muslim who does this, we will do this. None of them has ever said it. There's always this complete silence that they just blank out. It's as if our lives don't matter. That's the one that I see as state-backed, that even if we deal with the terrorists, which is affecting all of us, you will still have that one there. That one is what I would expect, that they need to put pressure on them. Speak to those ones, not this one that is general, that is this one you can work on. That other one is the one that you really need to, what's the right word now? Is really the one you need to shame the Nigerian government on. Because the Nigerian government seems incapable of confronting, just like Prof said. Obasanjo could not confront the North on that issue. No president can confront the North on that issue. You dare not speak to the North and say there is religious intolerance. It is like a taboo. They won't hear you. They feel that their environment is exclusively Islamic. So you are the stranger, forgetting that we are in a nation that allows you to be anywhere and practice any religion and hindered. If you want to be a traditionalist, you should be able to practice it in the north. That's what the nation's constitution guarantees you of. But they won't allow that. That's just my own take. Prof, I don't know whether you have any other thing to add. I don't want this thing to be too long because tomorrow is work. I just wanted us to rub minds and probably get to know each other better positions. Like I said, I am for
Please let me
any
just
nation joining forces with Nigeria to help fight corruption. And let me say this.
Something.
Sorry, Prof. Let me just quickly say this before I forget. The report, sorry, just a moment, please. The report that came out in 2017 that I read, unfortunately, my phone that I stored those PDFs, that phone is broken right now. I'm trying to restore it. I want to keep it. Now, gave us the origin of this thing, this terrorism thing, how it flowed, and part of what makes it difficult for one country to solve. If you were a geography student like I was as a young, when we draw the map of Nigeria, there is Lake Chad that we normally draw on the northeastern portion of it. It's like the comb on the head of a chicken. It's usually big. As of 2017, they said Lake Chad is now 10% of its original size. So what was a natural defense, that was a natural barrier to migration into Nigeria from other places, has evaporated. So it's now pure land. So if you want to move across, you just move. So these people migrated from the northern part of Africa with arms and weapons that were taken from Libya when Libya disintegrated. And when people have ammunition and they don't know what to do with it, they use it to perpetrate evil. That was the main influx that gave these people power. And now you now have them all around. Of course, they will use an agenda, religious agenda, to perpetrate it. They are using that. I'm talking about Boko Haram and ISIS now. I'm not talking about our own local inbred people. So please, Prof, just say your own. You can add your comment, sir.
Okay, I didn't hear your last. In fact, much of what you said last, I didn't hear, but I can understand that you have given me the floor. Okay, now let me quickly.
Your link is weak. Hello, Prof.
I think it's network. I think it's network. It has gone off.
Yes, it's network, sir.
Let me say, if you allow me, let me
give you the opportunity, Mr. Hillary. Maybe you just.
Let me say something here. For me, Nigeria is a sovereign nation, and the sovereignty of Nigeria should be respected. And whatever the United States is planning to do should be, a collaborative effort with the federal government, and any help or assistance necessary to support the federal government and to support the armed forces in ensuring that the issue of terrorism is brought to a minimal level. I think it's very much welcome. All right. Then I also have issues with your presentation with respect to religious extremism, religious intolerance. I always want us to, differentiate those. You understand? And why we're having this form of religious connotation in all these discussions with respect to Trump's statement is because the terrorists, have affiliations with a particular religion. All right, have a affiliation with a particular religion, and what I believe should also be done, because the federal government also needs to put their feet on the ground to ensure that preachers who encourage religious extremism should be sanctioned. All right, because what we call terrorism today is an extension of this religious extremism we are talking about. All right, these men who go about doing this, by the time you ask them why they are doing this, they have a lot of scriptures to back up what they are doing. And we have a lot of preachers too who are also propagating such messages. So such people should be sanctioned. All right. But then the issue of the Sharia law you were talking about and all that, the Sharia law doesn't actually apply, you know, um, to Christians. There's something they call it in the constitution, a personal religious law, something like that. You understand? But what I have concerns with respect to that, if you go to countries like Saudi Arabia, and some other Islamic countries, even when there are issues of, let's say, blasphemy, for instance, such people are tried in the courts, to determine the case. But here in Nigeria, we see people being stoned on the street and all that. That actually is not acceptable. You understand? So the government can actually work on that to ensure that if there are issues pertaining that, such people can actually be given a chance to be tried in court. And also too, for the Christians, also should also know how to, speak and know their boundaries in terms of religious discussions, and not to upset, another religion or cross their red lines. All right, you understand. So if we are able to understand each other, I think that intolerance will be brought down to a very, very minimal level. You understand? But what is the main issue now in the north is the issue of terrorism, not even the religious intolerance we are talking about. And as a background to this issue, when the issue of terrorism started, first when it first started, it was first of all targeted at Christians. We saw churches being blown up. We saw, massacres in the church and all that. But that's all behind us. What we should be looking at is how to solve the issue and to remove every form of, religious connotation from it. Because once we start going through that route, the religious intolerance that you are talking about will skyrocket to another level. Christians will start seeing Muslims as an enemy. Christians will start seeing Muslims start seeing Christians as an enemy. You understand? So we should remove that religious divide. We are one. Nigeria, we are first of all Nigerian. I believe when you go to the airport, nobody's going to ask you first, which religion are you? They're going to ask you to present your passport, and that gives you identity. So your identity is you are a Nigerian first. So let us take off that religious connotations. And also, I want to use this medium to also advocate to our various religious leaders in the Christian faith and the Muslim faith. We should focus more on preaching love. You understand? Preaching love and preaching messages that will help us to better understand ourselves and for us to live better and use our diversities, to become more creative and more productive, so that we can all grow. Our children can all live in Nigeria peacefully, and we can also see that success that other countries are currently experiencing. So we should shun, every form of what they call religious extremism from any angle, and the government too should begin, to clamp down on preachers who propagate these messages, because whether we like it or not, the terrorist on the street who is killing, his mind has received a lot of messages that have made him who he is. He doesn't just become. You understand? It doesn't. Every message we listen from the pulpits, every message people listen from different religions, it works on the mind, and it has capacity to shape you into the message that you are listening to. So those who are engaged in this religious extremism, they are products of extremist messages, that make them hateful, that make them see their brethren who are Nigerians as, even lower than animals. You understand? So the government has a lot to do. I remember there was a time when we were growing up, the National Orientation Agency used to make adverts, and make adverts that try to promote this ethnic and religious cohesion and listen, I believe they can also continue with that, preaching messages of peace, preaching messages of love. All right. I don't know where you are from. If you go to the Yoruba tribe, you can see a man. There are Christians in that home. There are Muslims in that home, and you never see them fighting. So why do we have a different scenario in the north? Because people are propagating that hatred. Is man-made. What we are seeing today in the north is man-made, whether directly or indirectly. So we should address the core issues, solve them, and ensure that we don't get to face what we are seeing today in the country. Because if we don't take care of it will gradually spread from the north to the south and even to the east. And before we know, this whole country will be engulfed in what we did not envisage for. So we have to put a stop to it now. That's my take on it.
All
Please,
right, Prof,
if you're
you can
hearing
have
me,
the last word.
may I chip in? Pardon?
You can have the last word
Hello?
so that we'll close. I didn't want it to extend more than 1 hour.
I can't hear you well.
You can have the last
I
words.
can't hear you well,
Say,
but I perhaps you can.
go. Speak.
He's
Speak.
cutting. Well, perhaps we can. The problem is that I'm receiving you through WhatsApp, through Facebook,
Ah.
because that was where I first went. Uh-huh. So, but
Oh, no, it's
according to
even
you now,
streaming to Facebook.
you have migrated to YouTube. I wish I could have
Great.
done that earlier. However, what I just want to put in is very simple. Perhaps 5 sentences. Contrived. It is contrived by the federal government of Nigeria. The whole confusion is engineered by the federal government. It is as simple as that. If Nigerians are being killed, and everybody knows that Nigerians are being killed, the federal government should collaborate. You were talking about if America comes, they will kill both the insurgents and innocent people. Who should guide the American army and show them who to kill? Since we have been fighting this insurgency and we have been unable to eliminate these terrorists, and somebody wants to come in and help us, is it not sensible to tell them, please come, let us show you those people? The political confusion in the whole matter shows the complicity, the level of complicity of the federal government, and the fact that they don't want this thing to end. Otherwise, I don't see why the confusion. America should be told that, look, it's not just Christians that are being killed. That we have a second insurgency going pari passu simultaneously. Please come, let us show you who, because all of us know in Nigeria that it is the same people that are doing this. These very same people that are doing this. Somebody said recently, as far back as 2015, as soon as Muhammad Buhari came into government, we started hearing about helicopters dropping arms for herdsmen inside forest. It was happening all over Nigeria. Sightings. These things were not reported before. So the police said they are delusional. Even during the COVID, we saw truckloads of herdsmen being trucked to the south, carrying weapons. Some were hiding under cattle trailers. The cattle were on top. They were at the bottom. Who were they working for? Who was orchestrating all that? Was it not T.Y. Danjuma, who should be respected in the army? by everyone that opened his mouth and told us that the Nigerian army is not neutral. And he didn't stop there. He told his people, you either arm yourself or you will all die. The military, of course, had it. So what did they do? They started checking from village to village. There will always be somebody who is a saboteur, who will tell them where the arms are being kept.
I think we've lost him. I guess we'll call it a day. I think the point is already made. I want to thank everyone for at least, allowing us to share thoughts and discuss so that we can rub off on each other. Scripture says, iron sharpens iron, so that my perspective, your perspective, we can take it into, advisement and use it to influence others for a better Nigeria for you and I. Thank you, Minister Hillary. I really appreciate you joining me this evening.
Yeah,
I
thank
hope we
you,
can do this on some other topic.
Yeah, no problem,
My
sir.
regards to your
Thanks for having
family.
me. Yeah, and you too, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Yeah, good night, sir.
Yeah.